Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining me. We have an awesome show planned for you today. I got a little bit of the sniffles. I'm not doing good with this cold weather and this snow on the ground in Tennessee. I'm just not used to it like I used to be, built for it when I was living in Indianapolis or Kansas City. Man, them 10 years in California spoiled me. I come here to Nashville. What did I say? Them 10 years in California spoiled me. I come here to Tennessee like, I know it's not going to be California, but ain't going to be no snow on the ground. Well, yeah, there is a little snow on the ground here in Tennessee and a little cold weather. And let me quit whining. I'm great. And it's great to have you guys here with me today. We have some more we want to talk about. I have not a different take, but I want to expound on the take that I had on Deion Sanders and the Dallas Cowboys and just what we're witnessing with the Deion hype machine. I've talked to informed, longtime Dallas Cowboy reporters that been covering the team for 30 and 40 years at a time, and I feel like I got a handle on what we're seeing from Deion and Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. So I want to go over that again today. Also I got a take on LaVar Ball. Many people, now that Jello, the third son, who is actually the middle son of LaVar's three boys, he signed a rap deal. And people are calling LaVar Ball the GOAT of fathers. He has two sons in the NBA, and now he has a third son who signed I think an $8 million deal with Universal Music or whatever for rapping profanity over beats. And LaVar Ball, the GOAT of sons, I'll discuss that. I'll probably bring Anthony and Virgil and Kevin into that discussion about GOAT dads and what the expectations are for dads, what makes you the GOAT dad. But anyway, we'll talk about that. Shemeka and I, at the end of the show, Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman, Nancy Mace, Congresswoman, they're in some House Oversight Committee yesterday, and they started going back and forth at each other. Nancy Mace asked her to step outside, and I'm just watching all this, and I'm watching, who's the woman from Hawaii that's in the Senate? Maisie or something like that, I think is her name. Someone from Hawaii that was asking Pete Hegseth a bunch of dumb questions, and I'm just like, man, are we sure about the 19th Amendment? What suffrage? What have been the benefits? Are we sure? Tell me how the world has improved with women injecting themselves into politics. I know I'm gonna catch a lot of heat for that, but it's how I feel. Look, I'm very consistent. I don't think married people need to vote. Unmarried people like myself don't need to vote, and I don't think, unmarried women certainly don't need to vote, and it should be one family, one vote. But anyway, we'll hear from Shemeka on that. Seemed like there was, Jemele Hill. Jemele Hill got caught, got exposed again. She took a little pot shot at Caitlin Clark, and now she's tried to walk it back and delete some tweets, and internet never rests, never sleeps, and they busted her on that. So I think that's it. There may be one other topic that I made a note that we'll cover with Steve Kim. But before I get into Deion and Dallas and all that again, I want to remind you all to make sure you're going to fearlessmission.com and joining the Fearless movement in a real way, becoming a subscriber. Use the promo code FEARLESS. You can save $20 on your yearly subscription. It's the greatest thing you can do to support me, this channel, this movement, this worldview, this kind of open, transparent, honest discussion. It's not politically correct. It's the conversation you need to hear. It's the conversation the world needs to hear. You can support it by going to fearlessmission.com and becoming a subscriber. Do that. All right, let me get into Deion Sanders. Let me start a little fire here of discussion, then we'll bring Steve Kim in and further discussion. I want to walk you through Deion Sanders' history so that you can better understand what Deion Sanders is doing with the Dallas Cowboys. I've listened to very informed people in Dallas that feel like they have a handle on this and that this is a gimmick. This is Deion just out trying to stir up leverage with his athletic director at Colorado so he can get paid even more money. People, no chance. Jerry Jones hires Deion Sanders. It's not going to happen. I read somewhere, I can't believe who it was, there was a reporter that came out and said, hey, I think it was in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, says, man, there's an $8 million buyout on Deion Sanders, and Jerry ain't paying that. Let me read a direct quote from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Jerry is not hiring Deion, and it has zero to do with the color of his skin and more to do with the zeros. When Deion signed a 5-year contract to become the head coach at Colorado in 22, the deal included a buyout of $8 million. Jerry is not paying $8 million just for the ability to hire a man who has never won a game as an NFL head coach. And Deion would rather swallow 4 gallons of humility rather than finance that $8 million himself. Jerry Jones would let $8 million stand between himself and the coach that he desires. I hear you, but I'm not buying it. And I hear all the people, no way, this is just a gimmick. Deion, the Cowboys are a mess. Jerry doesn't want to hire someone inexperienced. And I'm very willing to admit, hey, you guys are closer to the deal. You guys are more informed. You're talking to the people, and it's all a gimmick. Here's why I don't think it's a gimmick. Because anybody that's ever watched me over the long haul for the last 10 years, I've been saying everywhere, the National Football League, the National Basketball Association, Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League, all of the sports on TV, they're just a television show. That's all it is. Quit thinking you're watching something that's different from Yellowstone. Quit thinking you're watching something that's different than American Idol. Quit thinking you're watching something different than Real World Las Vegas or Real World San Francisco. Any of these reality TV shows. It's no different than Desperate Housewives. It's a script. And they'll manipulate that script in any way they can to make the overall TV show more popular. What's the biggest show on TV? The National Football League. It's the #1 show on 5 different networks. It's the #1 show that draws a massive audience every time it shows up. If it plays on Thursday, there's a massive audience. If it plays on Saturday, if it plays on Monday, if it plays on Sunday, if it plays on Christmas Day, if it plays on Thanksgiving Day, wherever they sprinkle some National Football League in, ratings explode. And you think like, oh, well, yeah, they should be satisfied. They don't need to do more. Well, you're always trying to do more. Have you not watched? Elon Musk is one of the richest people on the planet. He wants to be even richer. The Rothschilds have been the richest family on the globe for more than 100 years. You think they want to give that up? You think they don't want to be richer? This is what the rich do. They try to get richer constantly. And so with the National Football League, love to inject the Simon Cowell of football into the National Football League show and turn the Dallas Cowboys into an even bigger television rating star. I think they would. And so everybody's sitting around laughing like, oh, Jerry wouldn't do this. Deion doesn't have the experience. Deion wouldn't do this. He doesn't want that hassle. You don't understand what you're watching. It's just a TV show. And these are just characters that move around the chessboard. And Deion figured this out a long time ago. And when I say figured it out, Deion, yeah, figured it out is the right word, but Deion just leaned into being a character that will move around from show to show. and chase rings from show to show. Because it's all meaningless and purposeless. It's all just a television show. And so part of my unpacking and thinking about what's going on with Deion Sanders and what is the significance of Deion Sanders and why, in my opinion, there is a chance he could end up being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. It would fit his brand. It would be the perfect ending to his television career. Deion Sanders might be, other than Muhammad Ali, the most influential and toxic athlete in the history of American sports. And I say that, people are, are you calling Muhammad Ali toxic? Yes. And here's, Muhammad Ali was authentic with his beliefs. He was attached to a religious organization. He had these religious feelings and faith, and he tried to adhere to those. But in everybody trying to mimic Muhammad Ali, none of these guys that all want to be the next Muhammad Ali, they're not attached to a religious organization. They're not doing things authentically based on faith. They're just mimicking Muhammad Ali. And Deion Sanders is a part of that mimic act. Loudmouth, hey, look at me, draw all the attention himself, no different than Muhammad Ali, but he ain't attached to nothing real. He's making up his form of Christianity on his own. And he's making a form of Christianity that fits his radical materialism and fits his inability to satiate his own ego. And so I want to, we look at LeBron James and call him a ring chaser and say, he's ruined the NBA. LeBron James is actually following in Deion Sanders' footsteps. Let me remind some of you younger folks and folks my age that have just forgotten. What was Deion's NFL history? What's his real legacy in the NFL? Not the hype, oh my God, he's the greatest defensive back in the history of the NFL. There's some football players that will tell you that's not true. Rod Woodson, at the very least, and a couple others, better than Deion Sanders as a defensive back, as someone that could play corner. Rod Woodson was very physical. Deion wasn't. But anyway, Deion and the hype machine and the branding and the marketing put him in the conversation for the greatest defensive player of all time. And people that actually follow the game were like, that's a joke. He was a great cover corner. But greatest defensive player? Stop it. There's an athlete right now in the National Basketball Association in his 20th season or 21st, I can't remember, that has branded and hyped his way into the GOAT conversation. He's right there with Michael Jordan. He's above Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and Bill Russell and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's right there in the GOAT conversation with Michael Jordan. No, he's not. But because he's followed in Deion Sanders' footsteps, he's worked his way into that conversation. Let's walk you through LeBron James, the original ring chaser. The original ring chaser in professional sports. The guy who LeBron as a child was like, look at Deion. It's all about me. It's all about jumping from team to team. I can do that. Deion planted the seeds that blossomed in LeBron James. Let's walk you through. In 1989, Deion comes out of Florida State. He's drafted by the Atlanta Falcons, 5-year deal, $5 million, stays there for 5 years, and then departs on a 1-year deal to the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers were in a spend every dime we have. We must win a championship. We must stop the Cowboys dynasty. We've got to get Steve Young his first Super Bowl title. We got to move on from Bill Walsh and have George Seifert get a Super Bowl title. And so they were just out spending money indiscriminately and signed Deion Sanders to a one-year deal for $1.1 million to deliver them a Super Bowl. That team had Steve Young, in my opinion, one of the most talented quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League, left-handed, the most accurate quarterback, I believe, in the history of the National Football League, had damn near Lamar Jackson-type mobility. All-time great quarterback. People don't understand how great Steve Young was. They had Deion Sanders to Jerry Rice, the greatest wide receiver in the history of the National Football League. In some people's mind, the greatest football player in the history of the National Football League. So Deion joins a team that has, because he sat behind Joe Montana and because he started out in Tampa and played in the USFL, people don't understand how great Steve Young is. There are quarterbacks just as talented as Steve Young. There are not quarterbacks more talented than Steve Young. There's just not. And I'm sorry for those of you that don't understand that, but it's just a fact. So he joins a team with one of the most talented quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League. He joins a team with arguably the greatest player in the National Football League in Jerry Rice. And he joins a defense that has Dana Stubblefield and oh boy, I just done the reset look at my brain. I'm old. But they got Ricky Waters on off at running back. Merton Hanks and Eric Davis, Ken Norton Jr. at middle linebacker, Bryant Young at defensive tackle, playing alongside Dana Stubblefield. This team was loaded. Jerry Rice, John Taylor at wide receiver. This is LeBron James, basically, or Kevin Durant leaving the Oklahoma City to go join the Golden State Warriors. Deion did that. And then he pulled the ultimate Kevin Durant move. And look, the Steelers only could afford to do him on a one-year deal because back then the salary cap used to kind of actually matter, and people there'd be, hey, we're over the salary cap and we got to let go and we can't sign everybody. And so after doing that 1 year, Deion then goes, hey, I'm going to go join your arch enemy, your nemesis, the Dallas Cowboys. And he signs I believe a 7-year deal for $34 million with the Cowboys in 1995. And he steals his second Super Bowl title. He would have never been on the Cowboys roster if not for an injury to cornerback Kevin Smith. They lost their number one corner. I think Larry Brown was the other corner. They needed a corner. And so Deion played 9 regular season games for them and was on their playoff roster. Deion was not the engine that drove the Cowboys or the 49ers to the Super Bowl. Marketing and Deion's hype will have you believe that he was the engine that drove those cars to the Super Bowl. He wasn't. He tagged along for the ride. He was a ring chaser. He went and joined a bunch of other great players and pretended like he was the engine that drove him to the Super Bowl. Not true. Stayed in Dallas, I believe, for 5 years. And after that first Super Bowl, the Cowboys never won another Super Bowl. And by the end of that deal, the guy was, they were a 6-10 football team and out of the playoffs. Deion Sanders actually ushered in the end of the Dallas Cowboys dynasty. He was part of ruining the culture of the Dallas Cowboys along with Barry Switzer. He's the reason the Cowboys and Troy Aikman didn't turn into what the Patriots and Bill Belichick and Tom Brady turned into. Deion brought his attitude, his me first, all of that attitude to the Dallas Cowboys. Culture got ruined. Look, Michael Irvin is a force of nature as well, and he's going to do his party and whatever, but you can have so much of that. By the time you add Deion Sanders, it's over the top, the culture's no good, and boom. The dynasty collapsed, and the Cowboys haven't been anything since. They got a curse of the Bambino thing going on with the Dallas Cowboys where no one talks about it. Everyone loves to talk about Jerry Jones, and he's the problem, and he is the problem. But bringing Deion Sanders in helped corrupt that culture. And it's never been fixed since. Then Deion went from the Cowboys he ended up renegotiating with the Cowboys in '99, but then he got let go because, I think he was guaranteed like $23 million over the next 2 years. They couldn't do it. They let him go. He signs a 7-year deal with Dan Snyder and the Redskins. And this is the year Dan Snyder and the Redskins were buying up all the old-time greats. They were going to put together a dream team in Washington with Deion and Bruce Smith and some other guys. I think Jeff George was a part of that. They were going to redo a bunch of old legends and super talented guys. That lasted about a year. Deion re-retired after taking all that signing bonus money and stuff up front. Then he retires. Sits for 3 years. What does he do in 2004? Well, in 2003, the Baltimore Ravens went 10-6. I think Kyle Bowler, somebody was their quarterback. They won the AFC North, but couldn't really do anything other than that. And so Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, all those great defensive players, they say, hey, man, let's add a touch of Deion, 37-year-old Deion. Let's get Deion to come out of retirement. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to do what we did in 2000 or 2001. I can't remember the year they put their dream team defense together and carried Trent Dilfer to a Super Bowl. But that's what the Ravens had in mind when they signed Deion in 2004. We're going to add a little touch of this Deion Sanders, and we're going to go to the next level. How'd that work out? It did. And people say, it was 2000. They won the Super Bowl in 2000. People are saying like, Deion was doing Ray Lewis a favor and just trying to help his guys out, his young guys, blah, blah, blah. Deion was there thinking, hey, I'm going to join this defense. I saw him do it in 2000. You add me to this defense, and now they even got Ed Reed. You add me to this thing, and boy, we're going to the next level, and we're going to win a Super Bowl despite how trash the offense is, and Jamal Lewis is going to run for 2,000 yards, and we're going to win a Super Bowl. Did not happen. And 2 years later, after 2 years there, Deion had to re-retire because he tried it twice. When it didn't work the first time, I was like, well, man, we just went 9-7. Then they came back, it didn't work again, and Deion's like, I'm out of here. Deion's been cherry-picking titles and jumping team to team his entire career. He'll do whatever the money says and wherever he thinks the most glory is. That's Deion Sanders. That's who LeBron James is. LeBron James will do whatever the money says and wherever he thinks the most glory is and wherever he thinks the easiest path to another title is. He learned this from Deion Sanders. We're trashing LeBron James. A lot of people are. He's not Michael Jordan, and he's just a ring chaser, and I don't respect LeBron, blah, blah, blah. Where'd he get it from? Where'd he learn it from? What have we promoted in sports culture? Have we not all genuflected in front of Deion Sanders, and he's the greatest thing in the world, and he's the guy that all the athletes in all sports, the black athletes, he's their godfather, he's their mentor, he's the guy you can all learn from. Don't you all want to be just like Deion Sanders? Money, money, money. Don't you want to define yourself by money, money, money? Constantly, no substance, just money, money, money. Deion Sanders, and I hear everybody, I want to play you, Mike Fish, is it Fish or Mike Fisher? I think it's Mike Fisher. Maybe they call him Fish, Mike Fish. Covered the Cowboys for years. I want to play a clip of him last night on his podcast talking about how, hey, Deion's just leveraging the Cowboys with CU. I respect Mike. I respect all these reporters that have covered the Cowboys for years. Their instincts are probably better than mine. But I'm not sure if they fully accept who Deion is. He's Simon Cowell. He's the American Idol. He's one of the strongest forces in the history of television. And wherever the ratings, paycheck, glory, attention goes is where you will find Deion Sanders. And if you look at what happened this year at Colorado, they were still a talking point in college football, but it wasn't like it was in year one. It started to dissipate. And so when guys like Simon Cowell, American Idol is starting to go stale, let me go start something else. Let me go start America's Got Talent or Britain's Got Talent, and I'll take me and my personality, and I'll take the ratings there. That's a real possibility for Deion Sanders, in my view, because that's who he's proven to be year after year. He doesn't stay anywhere long. There's no reason for him to stay at Colorado. His sons are gone. I don't know if he really wants to do the hard work of building another team without Travis Hunter, without his son at quarterback. We shall see. But here's Mike Fish talking about Deion leveraging the Cowboys. Play the clip.
For instance, the Deion thing. The Deion thing accomplished exactly what it was meant to accomplish so far. Sources tell me that he's in contract negotiations with Colorado to stay there. And that this Cowboy thing was, not that there's zero chance of Deion, that this Cowboy thing was not driven by Deion coaching the Cowboys. It was driven by Deion coaching the Buffaloes, but getting more money to do it. And the next thing you know, ESPN TV, my understanding is, spent the entire day talking about the Cowboys, Deion, and Jerry. So everybody got exactly what they wanted, all three parties. Deion got what he wanted, leverage. Jerry got what he wanted, headlines. And ESPN got to fill the time because they can't always talk about Caitlin Clark and LeBron James. You got to put 45 minutes of Cowboys into every hour as well.
Mike, it's a TV show, brother. And if do you know the history of TV? Cliffhangers and just incredible things they'll do to a script, unbelievable things. I never thought they would do X, Y. Who shot J.R. Ewing? They shot J.R. Ewing. Did he die? Oh, they brought him back to life. Or it was all, anybody watch Dallas? I know a lot of these guys I work for with me, they're young. They don't remember Dallas. Maybe y'all can hop in the chats, but didn't they shoot and kill JR and then say it was all just a dream that Bobby had? Or maybe they killed Bobby and they said that was all a dream and they brought him back to life. But I'm just telling you, these TV shows, they'll do anything. They're capable of bringing Deion Sanders back to the NFL, letting him pretend like he's an NFL head coach. And then if it doesn't work out, they'll just, it was all a dream. He was at Colorado the whole time, and they'll send him back to Colorado or they'll send him out to pasture. But Deion, trust me, at the end of it, Deion's going to have a big bag of cash because that's all that matters. And I get that Deion's probably trying to leverage Colorado, but Deion's always trying to leverage everybody. And the NFL and the television networks would love nothing more than Deion Sanders to join the NFL and watch those. There might be 50 million, 60 million people watching the Cowboys season opener if Deion Sanders is the head coach. Shemeka just helped me out. The chat is saying Bobby died and they said it was a dream. Yeah. Bobby died and they said it was a dream on Dallas. Maybe in the chat, Shemeka, keep monitoring the chat. I may ask you about at the end. What are some of the greatest plot twists in the history of television? Deion's about to rival them all, in my opinion. He's the ultimate ring chaser. He's the ultimate American Idol. He laid the foundation for all that we see in sports right now that many of us don't like. Athletes aren't loyal to teams. Athletes are in it just for the money, just for the brand and the attention. I'm going to bring Steve Kim into this conversation. We'll talk a little bit about Mike Tomlin. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Mike Tomlin said, anybody thinking about trading for me, don't waste your time. He's staying in Pittsburgh. Jemele Hill got caught with some more Kate hate. We'll talk about that. Obviously, I'm going to ask him about Deion and the Cowboys in my latest take, comparing Deion to Simon Cowell and saying that Deion laid the groundwork for LeBron James and everything that's wrong with LeBron James. We'll do that in a second. Before we do, I want to talk to you guys about Purity Debt Solutions. We're all looking for a fresh start this time of year. From eating better to losing weight, we all have had some bad habits to stop and some good ones to start. You can give your finances a huge fresh start. Make this year the year you start to get out of debt and stop being crushed by it. And the first step is to contact PDS Debt for a personalized debt solution. If you're making payments every month on your debt and your balances aren't going down, PDS has solutions for you. Everyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies, and there is no minimum credit score required. Bad and fair credit accepted. Save more while paying off your debt in a fraction of the time. Make this the year you take control of your debt. Get a free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/fearless. It only takes 30 seconds. That's pdsdebt.com/fearless, pdsdebt.com/fearless. Steve Kim, Korean Cosell, X. Then my final one is what I've been talking about the entire time. When you embrace a leftist mindset, that's a mindset that is antithetical to competition. And at the end of the day, what drives sports is great competition. We want to see men or athletes, women included, we want to see them legitimately compete against each other. But when you have this leftist, we are the world, we are the children, and we're all just gonna grasp hands, and we're all in this together, and we all may be teammates, and well, let's do jersey swaps. It's all a leftist culture. There is no competition. America was built on competition. That's what made us different. That's why all the innovation happened here, or used to happen here. Because men were competing against each other. Who was gonna do the next great thing? You got this leftist culture in the NBA, and all of it is designed to take your competitive instincts out of you. Now you want to be a political league that sends the right message. Let's stop racism. All right, welcome back to the show. Korean Cosell, Steve Kim joining us. Now, Steve, I sat around and thought about this all night. Deion, Cowboys, Jerry Jones, and I've heard all the people, no way it's happened, it's all just a gimmick. Man, this is a TV show. Anything's a possibility. And Deion's such ratings gold that I could see it, and I think it fits his nature. I don't think he's the guy that likes to sit any place for a long time. He's like guys that think a new lover is better than that old comfortable lover every day of the week. And so, anyway, I'm not giving up on the thought of Deion perhaps joining the Cowboys. You say what?
I say that Jerry Jones agrees with you because I was recently sent, literally within the hour, and I sent it to our group text, Jerry Jones is going to be part of a docu-series on Netflix. So if there's ever a guy that wants to be a TV show and wants to be in the center of it and really looks at himself and his franchise as a reality show, it makes perfect sense for Coach Prime to be on the sidelines of the Dallas Cowboys. It almost makes no sense to go with Jason Witten. He might be less qualified than anyone that's being mentioned. I've actually seen that, and I'm like, has Jason Witten ever really coached at a high level? So, look, Nothing would surprise me. And I heard an interview yesterday, Jason, on Colin Cowherd, your old partner. He had Michael Irvin on, who's very close with Deion, and he was downright giddy. He couldn't say a lot. He had to be very guarded, which led me to believe, if you read between the lines, there's something happening there. I think there is a possibility.
Steve, I think you brought this whole thing together with this Netflix thing. And I say that to say, look at what the NFL has done with its games. And they got a Christmas package on Netflix. They got a Thursday night package on a Thursday night package on Amazon. These streaming outlets are spending so much money. And Jerry Jones has always been about, hey, can I do NFL's got to deal with Coke. Can I do one with Pepsi, or can I do this deal with this pizza, blah, blah, blah. He's always looking for additional revenue streams. And you tell one of these streaming networks to have a Hard Knocks-like type show with the Dallas Cowboys. And when you think about Deion and his sons and well-off media, how much content could they do if Deion was the Cowboys coach, well-off media, and Deion Sanders Jr., and their production company, and what kind of deal they could sign if they're attached to the Dallas Cowboys rather than the Colorado Buffaloes? Colorado's a nice story. If it's the Dallas Cowboys, that's a monumental mammoth story that makes well-off media, like it makes them a multi-million-dollar company. Hey, go ahead.
Jason, you mentioned this yesterday. The Colorado Buffaloes Coach Prime story, it didn't have quite the same buzz as it did in 2023. The television ratings were down. And part of the fascination over the Buffs is the fact not only was it Coach Prime, it was his son, who many people thought was an elite quarterback and was, and also Travis Hunter, who ended up being the Heisman Trophy winner. And then you had the other son, Shiloh, playing defense. Now all of that is gone. Now, I say this as somebody who would like more personalities. I thought it was a great loss when Jim Harbaugh went to the next level again. We need guys like Deion in college football just to make it more interesting. But here's the thing, though, and I got to admit this. Without his two sons and Travis Hunter, I don't care how highly touted Juju Lewis is. They're not as interesting. They're not. Here's the thing. The Colorado Buffaloes were actually a much better team this past season, than they were the first year. But there was a fading novelty. And so if you look at the history of Deion, he was not meant to be, and I know it's a different sport, Cal Ripken or Tony Gwynn, who just settles in for 20 years and say, hey, I am a staple of this community and this franchise. There is a vagabond quality to him.
Well, and there is someone that evaluates everything through a financial lens. We're with you today. I'm going to say, let's accept who Deion is. And there are more revenue streams and larger revenue streams with Deion attached to the Dallas Cowboys than attached to the Colorado Buffaloes. And it's like, let's say Colorado falls off a cliff this year and goes 5-7. That's Deion's better off going 6-11 in the NFL than 5-7 in Colorado. No one really cares about Colorado, and they're not going to care that much next year without Travis Hunter and without Shedeur. And it's great that Deion's there, but people are going to move on. I think there's real interest on Deion's part, and just people are saying, hey, Deion talked to Adam Schefter and put those quotes out there to let Rick George and Colorado know that this was going on. I think he put it out there so that well-off media and all the different business arrangements and deals he has, that those people know, hey, I could end up with the Dallas Cowboys. Start putting deals in front of me that reflect what we could make, what we could do if I were the Cowboys head coach. And I think I can go in here and talk Jerry Jones into it. I just think that's smart business from a guy who's always thinking business.
And let's be honest, what gives you more of a higher profile and more buzz? Being a third or fourth best team in the Big 12 or just being in the National Football League? It's always amazed me that no matter how good, bad, mediocre, or awful the Cowboys are, they're always on my TV. I've never understood this. Even during the years when they were perennially 5-11, I'd always see them on Monday Night Football or some primetime game. So I'm with you on that. And I'm actually fascinated that if this actually happens, what do the Cowboys do at the quarterback situation? First of all, I think there's a belief that Dak Prescott has gotten you as far as he could, won a lot of regular season games, could never take you over the hump. You have a draft choice that may or may not be in line to get Shedeur Sanders. Again, there's a lot of debate about just how worthy is he of a top 10 pick. You bring all of that together, Jason, we don't even have to have conference calls to prepare for the show. You bring Shedeur and Coach Prime to Dallas, that's 3 of the 5 days we're going to be talking about on football in about 8-9 months. That's the reality of this whole thing.
And look, again, it's not my way, but I have to accept this is where we are in American culture, in sports culture, and who has played this thing better than Deion Sanders? Now going on, it started, what year? It started in probably 1985 at Florida State to all the way till now. This guy has played the modern culture of an athlete, of an influencer, better than anybody. It's not the way I would play it. It's not the results I'm looking for. But for what this culture rewards, what this Federal Reserve banker, debt slave, here, take this fake money we're printing at the Federal Reserve, for the rewards that's given, and to please the globalists and the people in control of the big banks and all that other stuff. No one's played it better than Deion Sanders. And now that he's sitting here with a chance to really, really cash in, I'm supposed to believe he's going to be like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to stick here at Colorado. I'm not going to pursue this NFL thing, this Cowboys thing, which could be the ultimate playoff for all the work I've been putting in, building up the primetime brand since 1985 at Florida State. I'm not going to cash in right now when all the rewards are right there at my footstep. And we're sitting there, and Jerry Jones, as much as he wants to win Super Bowls, it's like, okay, I got this problem with Dak Prescott. Can I generate so much extra money with Deion that who cares that I got to pay off part of Dak's contract and agree to pay, push him to another team while paying half of his salary? Me and Deion are going to make so much more money doing our thing, wrapping well-off media into the Jerry Jones business deal, and me and Deion going on a split of that. I just think there's ways to figure out how to recover from the financial loss of Dak.
Jason, you know what Jerry Jones probably hates worse than being a bad football team? Irrelevant. I mean, I've read stories how in the late 80s, George Steinbrenner, when the Yankees had kind of waned, absolutely hated the fact that they were a second banana to the Mets. Just hated it. It wasn't even that he couldn't win World Series anymore, that he wasn't even the biggest deal in his own city. Now, when it comes to Deion, Jason, I thought he had one of the greatest NFL draft moments ever. So it's obvious he's going to be a top 5 pick in that iconic 89 NFL draft, the one that had Barry Sanders, Troy Aikman, Tony Mandarich. And so Detroit, I believe, had the number 3 pick. So it went Aikman, Mandarich. So Detroit's sitting at number 3, and they're going to take a Sanders, Barry or Deion. Now, Detroit, they did pretty good. They got that little running back out of Stillwater. He ended up okay. So Atlanta has the 4th pick, and they chose him. And he wanted to be there because it's down south. The culture fit him. And they had an interview, I believe, at his draft party. And I'm not so sure, but I think it was Andrea Kramer said, well, Deion, there was some talk that Detroit was going to take you. And Deion had all the jewelry on. He said, I'm going to tell you right now, no, that was never going to happen. If Detroit would have picked me, I would have asked for so much money, they would have to put me on layaway. And so it began. And he changed the pay structure of NFL cornerbacks, defense. He made it entertaining. And Jason, I heard your opening monologue. I actually do not fault him for what he did in 94 and 95. The guy literally, as a cornerback, shifted the power of not just two teams, but not just a conference, but he decided the Super Bowl, a cornerback. Because in 94, without him, I don't think the Niners beat the Cowboys. And in 95, after Kevin Smith blew out his knee on that Monday night opener, the Cowboys needed someone to anchor that cornerback spot. I have never seen a player have that much impact to basically sway the whole league.
I'm not going to argue with you about that today. I'm not.
Not today.
I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to Mike Tomlin, and just want to cover this for a moment. Mike Tomlin yesterday told everybody, "Hey, save your time. Don't pursue me with some trade." Basically said, "I'm good here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's play the clip."
Mike, at least one team has reached out to inquire about your availability, understanding that you have a no trade clause in your contract. What's your message to any team that may reach out to the Steelers to gauge interest or availability in your services?
I have no message. Save your time.
So here's what I think is really driving that. Let's give me this list of NFL head coaching openings right now. Scroll up so I can. I think it's in my. There we go. Chicago Bears, Dallas Cowboys, Jacksonville Jaguars, Las Vegas Raiders, New Orleans Saints, New York Jets. If I'm Mike Tomlin, do I want to get involved with any of those teams? Go back. I want to. Do I want to be involved with the Jets? Do I want to be involved with the Bears? Do I want to be involved with if I'm Mike Tomlin, do I want to be involved with the Cowboys, Jacksonville Jaguars, Las Vegas Raiders, New Orleans Saints? No dice. Save your time, guys. Don't call. That's what I think is driving that.
First of all, Mike Tomlin has the right to say, nope, I like it here. Now, whether the feeling is mutual, especially among the fan base in Pittsburgh, that's a different story. But maybe he just likes it in Pittsburgh. He might even think of his own, like, you know what, I'm good. I never have to work a day in my life after I retire from this gig. He has a right to say that. Now, the other thing is what I would have said was, in my own mind, with a thought bubble, don't call unless you have a franchise quarterback. Because the toughest jobs, in my view, at that level of football is to try to begin a rebuild without a foundational quarterback leading it. I think that's been one of the problems that you had post-Ben Roethlisberger. But Jason, I'm going to say something that goes against other statements that I've made, because I'm not a big believer in Caleb Williams. I don't know if his game really translates. I think he holds on to the ball too long. He's not as athletic as he thinks he is. But Chicago has some decent parts. They put a lot into it. And if Mike Tomlin brought along an ace offensive coordinator that could get Caleb to play a little bit more within structure on a consistent basis, out of all the jobs that were listed there, that would be the one that would intrigue me the most.
Here's why I would disagree is Mike Tomlin's worked in one of the best run organizations in the history of sports. The Rooneys have had an organizational structure and philosophy for 50 years that Bill Cowher didn't lose, Chuck Noll didn't lose, Mike Tomlin hasn't lost. The Bears are, Kevin Warren's their president. Kevin Warren, I know personally, was the first agent I ever had. He used to be commissioner of the Big Ten. I don't know if he's a guy that runs an NFL franchise. Ryan Poles, their general manager, questions about him. I'm not stepping into rookie team president, basically inexperienced general manager. I've been working with the Steelers, and now I'm about to get in bed with Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles. Nah, I'm good. If the New York Giants were looking for a head coach, I think Mike Tomlin might listen to a trade offer and, hey, what are you guys thinking? If there may be one other team maybe if Seattle were looking for a coach, their organization has been run pretty well in the past. The 49ers, if they were to, but this group right now, the group of midgets, he's like, nah, I'm good. Why would I leave the Pittsburgh Steelers to mess with this group of midgets? No dice.
I don't see a team that has a quarterback that I'd be like, okay, next 5 to 10 years of my life, you're going to be a big part of it. I just think that quarterback equation is big. And when you're looking at the Giants, they're going to have a very high draft choice. They think they played themselves out of the number 1 pick. I don't know. Look, the way I look at it.
Let me give you another team. You got a good point. Go ahead, finish your point, and I'll give you another team.
No, I just think all of those teams that you mentioned, like Geno Smith is a guy. He's put up some numbers, had a late career renaissance. I don't look at him as an upper tier franchise quarterback. And again, they just got a new
draft
coach.
A quarterback.
Well, okay, but
I know. I'm just saying. But I'm not saying these guys are possibilities to go to Seattle. I'm just saying what type of organization, management structure what organization would I join, having faith in the organization to provide me the support to be effective? Giants. And I know they don't have the quarterback, but the Giants know what they're doing. That family has a history. I'm people in Seattle. Has Paul Allen? He moved on from the Seattle Seahawks. I think he has. But I just had another. I'll give you. Here's the dream scenario for Mike Tomlin next year. Not that he's sitting around praying that this happens, because he's not. Buffalo Bills lose this weekend to Baltimore. Sean McDermott goes into next season with a gun to his head. And they go 9-8. He gets fired. Buffalo, Paul Allen's dead, by the way. Thank you, Hadley. Buffalo is in the Buffalo's in the coaching market right next year. Mike Tomlin gets to go work with Josh Allen, improve that Buffalo defense, and try to win Super Bowl. That's where he's like, yeah, go Buffalo. Go ahead and make a call. Yeah, we can talk about trading with Buffalo.
It's perfect for him. It ain't perfect for Buffalo. I actually think Buffalo has done a great job of retooling on the fly. I thought their Super Bowl window had closed after last year. Turns out they cracked that door open a little bit more, or that window. And some of their best football players are right in the thick of their prime. Now, Jason, here's the issue. If you have Josh Allen, who is certainly an elite quarterback, you're going to bring in a defensive coach if you're going to replace McDermott? Oh, no way.
Yes.
Completely disagree. No.
I would.
Why?
I think the offense is handled. The problems I've seen with Buffalo is if they were more dominant on defense, Josh Allen and the offense take care of their business. I think what I've been looking for from Buffalo is more defense. That would put them over the hump.
I completely disagree. If Josh Allen is my flagship player, I have to make sure I'm getting a coach that is aligned with him. Now, I know McDermott may not be this offensive whiz kid, but I'm just telling you, I would get, at that point, a guy like Joe Brady. I'd be like, Joe, you want this job or not? Look, let's see how it plays out.
Were Brady and Belichick aligned for years? Brady and Belichick were aligned for years.
Maybe for years, they
Belichick's a defensive guy.
Right, and he had great offensive coordinators like Josh McDaniel. But I would say this, Tom Brady seemed to be pretty important to Bill Belichick. That's my point. The quarterbacks matter. But if I'm Buffalo,
defenses matter.
So do quarterbacks. I
know. You got your quarterback. Now you need an elite defense. And that's when I watch Buffalo, I know they'll put up decent numbers year to year. Sean McDermott's a defensive guy, but it's not elite. And I would want to give Josh Allen an elite defense, shorten the field up for him, take a little pressure off of him. That's going to bring out the best in Josh Allen. Joe Brady, whoever's been calling the plays for Josh Allen, they've always been able to figure it out. The guy's so talented, that's easier to figure out. Making sure that defense gets you the stops, changes field position, Give him what Brady had early in his career, where the defense carried him a bit, and then he became super duper elite. Look at what Patrick Mahomes is experiencing the last 2 years with this defense in Kansas City and Steve Spagnuolo. It's allowed Patrick Mahomes and the offense to take a step back and still win. What?
Why isn't Steve Spagnuolo being mentioned for NFL jobs?
He just got an interview with somebody. I just read it.
But why isn't he not the hottest candidate based on the job he's done? Must be that white privilege. Anyway.
He's old. I'm gonna say it's because he's old and doesn't seem super interested. And the two best candidates are Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, and they're getting plenty of interviews. Let me move on. Let me make. I love this. Jemele Hill got busted, Steve. She got exposed once again. It looks like in September, Jemele sent a lengthy tweet saying Caitlin Clark doesn't get the same hate as black women in the WNBA. After Caitlin Clark's alleged stalker was arrested, Jemele Hill tried to quietly delete the post, but the internet never forgets. Let's read Jemele Hill's deleted tweet on Caitlin Clark. I'll do my best voice here, even though it always tends to be the same voice for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't like to play the oppression Olympics, but has CC had to delete her social media accounts? No. But her teammate Alea Boston did. CC has given out a few hard shots herself, talked trash, jawed with the refs, and yet anytime she is subjected to physical play, a hard foul or trash talk, opposing players are absolutely villainized. She is not constantly subjected to racial slurs and whatever hate she does experience. She is not told to toughen up or that her feelings don't matter. She is not subjected to both sides-isms, nor are people trying to justify any hatred against her. That's the difference. That's Jemele Hill. She's tried to delete that tweet, Steve. The internet discovered it. And look, CC, someone got arrested for stalking her and, making all kinds of, it's not quite, remember when Kennedy Carter and Angel Reese said, oh my God, they tried to assassinate us outside our bus, and the video dropped, and it was some guy that asked a simple question and, was like 10 feet away walking behind them. It's like, that was the assassination attempt? Anyway, your thoughts on Jemele Hill getting cold busted here?
Yeah, that wasn't exactly JFK in Dallas, that assassination attempt. Just on that tweet that Miss Hill wrote, she doesn't play in the victim Olympics? Are you kidding me? She's won more gold medals than Carl Lewis and Michael Phelps. She's the greatest of all time at it.
The Simone Biles of the oppression Olympics.
You know what? That's a better one. That's a better one. Here, and by the way, the biggest story was, because I saw videotape of that guy in handcuffs. I just want to let our audience know that was not Jason Whitlock who was stalking Caitlin Clark. We just want to make that very clear. That was the biggest takeaway that I had from watching that footage. But I don't understand why people like her, and I'm talking about Miss Hill, ever delete their tweets. Do they not realize, and I've gone through this, everyone will basically screenshot stuff that you say and just keep it in that folder. They'll keep it in the drafts forever. They have that thing holstered like Wyatt Earp. So if you're just going to say it, you just might as well just have it put up there. In fact, put it in a frame like it's at the walls of the Smithsonian. There's no walking it back. You might as well just live up to it. I think her argument would be, though, that, well, that wasn't a racial incident. But then again, I ask, well, if it wasn't, then why did you take down the tweet?
Yeah. It's so easy to beat up on Jemele. She makes it so easy.
Poor girl.
And there's many of us like me that are, we're over our
well, you're blocked
unconditional
anyway.
love of CC. Yeah, well, I know that, but
you're blocked
I'm over
by
my
Jemele,
unconditional love. Yeah. Well, but now you can see block people's tweets, so I can see whatever she's putting out. I just can't comment on it. But a lot of us are like, hey, man, we're not even playing the oppression Olympics anymore with Caitlin Clark, because Caitlin Clark said, hey, I like playing in the oppression Olympics, and, I've got white privilege, and so I'm not oppressed, and, we just got to do everything we can to celebrate Jemele Hill and Angel Reese, and that's what I'm here for, to celebrate and elevate them. And so I'm like, okay, good. Okay, CC. We'll leave you to that group, and, not that I'm not sympathetic. No one should have stalkers, and women have to deal with that. And I'm sympathetic, but this whole thing of trying to evaluate what woman on social media receives the most vicious tweets, I'm just, miss me with all of it. I mean, just, and I know I do feel somewhat sorry for the women, but my God, read my Twitter mentions and read, read the stories that have been written about me that are just fabrications and lies and all that kind of stuff. So I just don't feel a lot of sympathy for any of it. This is what, you're a public figure. This is what goes along with it. Most of it is hot garbage. Don't live your life spent in fear. And I know that it's easier for me to say, one, I'm older. I'm obviously larger. One, I own guns. And maybe these women don't. But, this is what goes along with being a public figure right now. It's sad. We all go through it, and everybody does need to toughen up. Not that I'm saying that to CC, but it's just like when these women, whatever these angry text messages or email or tweets these ladies are getting in the WNBA, I guarantee you, the ladies that don't try to push, Angel Reese gets a lot of heat and a lot of negative stuff because she puts a lot of negative heat and energy out there. That's one of the reasons I don't complain. I criticize people, so people criticize me back. That's right. That's the price of tea in China.
If you can take it, if you can give it, you got to be able to take it. And here's the reality, though, with Caitlin Clark. Above and beyond any other player in that particular league, she can walk down Main Street, USA, and there would actually be people that would know who she is specifically. I'm not so sure any other player in the WNBA has that dynamic. So, and again, there's a difference between being physically stalked and having someone troll your Twitter timeline. I think I've told you this, though, Jason. My view is now this. I don't block people. I am no longer the Dikembe Mutombo or Anthony Munoz of Twitter. I now mute people. Even with the new block now essentially not being a block button, I like the fact that people that disagree with me, cannot stand what I say, you know what? Good. I want you to hear my message because you care enough to go on my timeline. And guess what? With the mute button, I never have to hear from you. That's a very fair trade as far as I'm concerned.
I got a different philosophy, and I'm a little reluctant to admit it, but in the interest of transparency, I'm going to admit it. I like the block button because people can see, they can still see my tweets. What I don't want them doing is spamming my mentions with garbage, with all these ridiculous comments about me or accusations about me. And I don't like false engagement, people that are just trolling. And so I hit the block. They can read my tweets. They can't leave a comment because what a lot of these rigged up comments and rigged up Twitter lynch mobs are so the media can then say, the New York Times, Washington Post writers, people, the Daily Beast, whoever these blogs are that still write about this kind of stuff, can then go to your Twitter mention and say, oh, God, and Whitlock got trashed by this person or that person. And here's this anonymous bot's tweet trashing Whitlock and calling him this or saying this. That's what I'm trying to eliminate. I don't mind criticism. I want people to see that people disagree with me or whatever. But when I think it's just some kind of disingenuous spam, troll job, I just don't want it on my timeline and mentions. I don't want people to think that's a reflection of how people actually engage with me because I don't think it's authentic. Now, do people vehemently disagree with me and think, man, Whitlock, you got it in for Deion Sanders. More than happy to let people post that stuff all the time. But some of the other stuff, no doubt. I'll give you the example. Yeah. I complained yesterday again or 2 days ago about Temu and these Temu ads that pop up when I go look for scores on ESPN. And there are people like, I never get that on my timeline. It must be what you're scrolling or browsing on your internet and blah, blah. I was like, man, that's some old disingenuous BS. Everybody has popped onto one of these ESPN or some website and got some ad that's like, hey man, do I gotta get sex 24/7? Can't you just wait till I go to Pornhub, give me that? Why do I gotta get it over here at ESPN? You're just doing this until you want me thinking about sex constantly. I got a right to complain about that and I'm complaining not just for myself, because I know other people are tired of it too, but they don't want to deal with the accusations. You must be browsing Pornhub. No, man, they're trying to trigger me sexually constantly, and I'm tired of it. Final thought, and I gotta let you go.
Yeah, Jason, given the fact you have 10 times more Twitter followers than I do, I will defer to you on this subject. Before I get out of here, Jason, you talked about all the Cowboy sources that you talked to, and I do have one that was actually intimately involved. But it got me thinking last night. I started going through my book collection, and I got this. And I'm assuming you did not talk to Skip Bayless. But Skip Bayless in the 80s and early 90s probably wrote some of the most provocative, thought-provoking, deep, insightful, and maybe fictional cowboy books dealing with that era. I don't think he was one of your sources, but I would recommend reading some of these books. I was flipping through God's Coach right now. Wow, there's some I'm going to have to reread this when I get done with my other books right now. But I want to revisit the 90s Cowboys. I thought it was a fascinating time in American sports.
Steve, great job. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. You guys don't go anywhere. We're going to talk about LaVar Ball, Jello Ball, the third son, who's really the middle son, who now has a rap deal. LaVar Ball now has two sons in the NBA on big contracts. One, I think the youngest, LaMelo, is playing pretty well. Lonzo's kind of coming back from an injury, certainly getting paid and playing decently. And now Jello has a rap contract. A lot of people are screaming and hailing him as LaVar as like, hey, he's one of the greatest dads in the world. Look, two kids in the NBA, another kid with a rap contract. LaVar Ball, job well done. I got some mixed feelings about that. I'll unpack that. Bring Anthony, Virgil, Kevin. These guys are all fathers. These guys give their perspective on LaVar and what does success as a father look like. It'll be a mashup of Tennessee Harmony and me just talking about something I'm interested in. LaVar Ball, his three sons, how much we should hat tip him for their success and the lanes that they're having success in. It's an interesting conversation. Want you guys to stick around for it. We'll also talk with these guys about, and we'll show you this, these college athletes and just athletes in general are really, really leaning into expressions of faith and expressions about Jesus Christ playing a role in their life. And it's kind of a interesting phenomenon that I think points to some positive that comes along with a society that has gotten as secular and as wicked as ours has, and what people are doing as a defense mechanism. We're looking at young athletes put on the full armor of God. And I find that fascinating. And I find that like it's a benefit. Like all this secularism, this wickedness is forcing people to go where they actually need to go. So we'll have that conversation as well. We'll play, if you've never seen Shemeka's song, Pee Wee, about Deion Sanders, you're going to enjoy our little commercial break. Enjoy that song. Give us a chance to get Kevin and Anthony here in studio and Virgil hooked up over Skype. Before I get out of here, guys, I want to talk to you about ExpressVPN. Going online unprotected is like leaving your door unlocked when you leave your house. Maybe you trust some of your neighbors, but what about the creepy guy down the block? What about delivery drivers and random strangers? Do you trust all of them? With ExpressVPN, you can stay safe online without having to trust any random strangers. Every time you connect to an unencrypted network in cafes, hotels, airports, etc., your online data is not secure. Any hacker on the same network can gain access to and steal your personal data, passwords, bank logins, credit card details, etc. It doesn't take much technical knowledge to hack someone. Just some cheap hardware is needed. A smart 12-year-old could do it. Your data is valuable. Hackers can make up to $1,000 per person selling personal info on the dark web. ExpressVPN stops hackers from stealing your data by creating a secure, encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. Rated #1 by the top tech reviewers like CNET and The Verge. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/fearless. That's Express, EXPRESSVPN.com/fearless. You can get an extra 4 months free. ExpressVPN.com/fearless. Stay tuned. LaVar Ball, next.
Coach D, rub these players up. If you see me, then you know it's about a bug. Not about my players, I don't give a. I'm the big dog, should do my little pug. Diamonds on his wrist, and he hold it up. When I holler Pee-wee, that mean I suck. Manipulate my players, then I get them stuck. Take the cornerback for a Colorado Bucks.
Do you believe that?
We ran out of luck. I'm 56, acting like I'm 30. Worship me like an idol, cause I'm worthy. Drop rose for snow, hoes wasn't pretty. Overplaying Travis Hunter did him dirty. Should do a crying daddy, why they hurt me? Setting sack record sight, getting blurry. Players decommitting, coaches start to scurry. Run into the transfer portal in a hurry. Your favorite black coach, I do no wrong. Get them wins up, or I won't be here for long. Call them ghetto rappers to get us in the zone.
Who ready?
I'm ready, now play my theme song. If you see me, then you know it's about a bug. Not about my players, I don't give a. I'm the big dog, should do my little pug. Diamonds on his wrist, and he hold it up. When I holler Pee-wee, that mean I suck. Manipulate my players, then I get them stuck. Take the cornerback for a Colorado Bucks.
Do you believe that?
We ran out of love. Call me Coach Prime, yeah, I'm the chosen one. Double threat in my time, touchdown, home run. The Pee-wee D high fans are really dumb. Getting all this recognition, and it is really fun. What would make you think I care about what you think of me? I got teams running scared, Coach Pee-wee. Started from the bottom, and then we won 3. I did this without them, cause it's about me. Your favorite black coach, I do no wrong. Get them wins up, or I won't be here for long. Call them ghetto rappers to get us in a zone.
Who ready?
I'm ready, now play my theme song. If you see me, then you know it's about a bug. Not about my players, I don't give a. I'm the big dog, should build my little pug. Diamonds on his wrist, and he hold it up. When I holler Pee-wee, that mean I suck. Manipulate my players, then I get them stuck. Take the cornerback for a Colorado Buck.
Do you believe that?
We ran out of luck.
All right, welcome back. Time for a little Tennessee Harmony, but before we did the Tennessee Harmony Open, I've been busy doing other things. I wanted to kind of lay out the conversation and then bring those guys in. So give me a second here, Anthony, Virgil, Kevin. I want to talk a little bit about LaVar Ball, and you guys are all dads. You're all experienced. You got a more experienced and more mature view than me, and I want to bring that to the audience as we discuss LaVar Ball. I've had an interesting history with LaVar Ball. I've been known kind of as a critic of LaVar Ball. I thought early on when Lonzo was coming out of high school and a year in college and into the NBA, I thought LaVar Ball was way too involved and doing way too much talking and creating way too much of a distraction for his young son. And it was more about LaVar Ball. And so I was kind of critical, like he's going on all these shows, and the next thing you know, Lonzo, who's 19, 20 years old, he has to answer questions about things his dad said, and they're launching a big baller brand, shoe brand, and I'm like, come on, man, you trying to do way too much, way too early. And is that really about servicing your son, or is that about, I can hear that, or is it about servicing yourself and trying to build some sort of business or legacy for yourself? In retrospect and in real time, it's like I get LaVar's instincts. He's produced 3 sons. He and his wife have nurtured and developed them tremendously as athletes. And he wants to build something in his mind that serves the Ball family forever. Now, hey, these guys may play in the NBA for 10 years, may play for 15 years, may play for 5 years, who knows? But if we can get the big baller brand off the ground, this could serve all of us for a lifetime. This could serve their kids, my grandkids, their grandkids. It could be something. I got and get LaVar's instincts. I just thought he was trying to do too much too early. And then LaVar had that famous moment on air with Colin Cowherd and Christine Leahy. And at one point he said something about Jason Whitlock can't talk about nothing but snacks. And I found that humorous. And, again, anybody that's watched me knows me. I know that I'm a critic, and I have to deal with people criticizing me and sparring with me. And, me and LaVar around the same age. And at that time, I was out in Los Angeles and would see LaVar in the Fox studios, and we'd have some brief conversations in. It wasn't as personal as people think. But, me and LaVar had some disagreements. I'm looking now, here we are. LaVar's probably been in the news cycle for 8 years now. And he's now a lot less in the news cycle. And now the results for his sons, 2 of them are having successful NBA careers. They're certainly going to make a lot of money. And now the 3rd son is going to be a rapper of some sort and has signed a lucrative deal with Universal Music. And a lot of people are promoting, celebrating LaVar Ball as the GOAT father. I don't want to rain on that because there is a measure of success. His sons are in professions that aren't illegal and are lucrative, and you never know where this journey is going to take them. However, there is the part of me that says, and I don't want to be one of those people that are just wagging a finger and, well, you gotta, but I just gotta be real to who I am. And so when I think about celebrating a father as the GOAT father, I would just be a tiny bit more impressed if, let's say, they were still basketball players and rappers, but as a part of their brand or a part of their mission or a part of using the exposure they had was about telling everybody about the role Jesus Christ played in their life, or that they were saved, or that they had turned their life over to Christ, and they were making sure that everyone knew that they were discipled by their Father to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. Now we're really talking about, in my view, a GOAT father. If you can say that, hey, look at my sons, they're married, they're involved in a relationship with Jesus Christ. That's all I can do. I've done my job. I got them connected to Jesus Christ. I got them to pursue a marriage and holiness. Whatever else happens after this, I did my primary job. And so that sounds a little finger waggy, I'm sure, to some of you secular folks, but that is where my mind goes. And I say this authentically. Anybody that ever hears me talk about my brother, because my brother has had to deal with, and I'm saying it like it's a negative, but it's really not. But he has had to deal with the fact that when I was a kid, I was an athlete, football player, and track, and in junior high I was a good basketball player. But eventually I became a very good high school football player, worthy of a football scholarship, and that got a lot of attention. And the other thing, I was a bad kid. That required a lot of attention from my parents. And my brother was a really good kid. I can't remember him ever getting spanked. And so he has spent a lot of his life having conversations with people about me. Oh, your brother, he played football at Ball State. Oh, your brother was on a high school football team that finished nationally ranked, and he played with Jeff George, and he got a scholarship. And then you think the whole athletic thing is going to come to an end in 1989 or whatever, when I leave Ball State, 1990 when I leave Ball State. And then the next thing you know, I start a media career that gets me even more attention. And it gets me attention that, in my view, because my brother kind of looks like me, he certainly carries my last name, now people are asking my brother about, man, your brother said this, or I saw your brother on this TV show. And how much money does your brother make? Where does he live? What's blah, blah, blah. Constant conversation about my brother, about me. And I've been adamant, like no matter how much financial success or how much attention I get, I've been adamant trying to tell people that my brother is the true success story. He is living the dream. He's married 20 plus years. He's got 2 sons, had a great career as an executive at Ford Motor Company. He's worked his way into an elders type position at his church.
That's huge.
I'm like, what are y'all looking at? Mm-hmm. You can look at my money, but what my brother's done is incredible. And that's where the real success is. And I try to let people, my family, everybody knows, because people get so caught up in money and they can't see that what we're really supposed to do as men is what my brother has done. And so that's where, we live in such a secular, money-driven culture that people just look at the money and say, oh, well, that's success. And I've lived long enough and experienced enough to know that money ain't got nothing to do with success. That money primarily is a reflection of like, oh, you've been pretty secular. They ain't giving you all that money if you've been following God. You've been pretty secular to get all that money. And so, anyway, I want, Anthony, I know you're a hardcore sports fan. Virgil, has fantasies about being an athlete, but knows nothing about it, and mostly is an Oklahoma person or whatever. Kevin looks like an athlete, but probably he's a white guy. He's probably no good. Y'all know I apologize. I gotta crack jokes. But anyway, I thought y'all would enjoy the conversation and maybe could bring how should we be feeling about LaVar Ball? I do think, hey, his sons are making money and all of that. But last thing I'll say, and then I'm gonna let y'all talk. The Jello kid, and all of them, but Jello in particular, this one he's so tatted up. That's hard for me as a man, and I wonder if y'all as a father, when you and your wife create this beautiful child and God makes him in a certain way, then they just cover themselves up with all these tattoos. Just like, so that would so bother me as a father. But Anthony, go first.
You know, I appreciate what you shared about your brother. When I looked at that story, I really haven't shifted from what I felt about LaVar, even now, even concerning his sons, because as you pointed out, most of these successful people, and we're talking in the eyes of God, most of the successful people are unknown. We will never hear their names broadly. No, not at all. Because the kind of success that God looks for are those things that our current society sees as boring: being wise, being good stewards of what you have, being married, having children, not engaging in the salacious activities of the world. That's boring to most folk. But in God's eyes, that is a view of success. The more that we live according to his purpose, that's successful. Loving God, loving people, making disciples. So when I think about LaVar talks about, you know, his upbringing being rough. I had a rough upbringing. I think most of us on this panel have. That was, in my view, survival. I had to survive the distractions of life and maintain a focus by God on the purpose that he has for my life. But now, as a father myself, it is my plan to shield my children and my family from as many of those distractions as possible. LaVar and his wife, you know, they weren't, you know, uber wealthy, but they were, you know, fairly well off. You have a prime opportunity to raise these boys in a way that, man, keeps them from these distractions and let them, rather than giving them what you didn't have, giving them and teaching them what you didn't know about Christ. That will land them even farther in life than the finances. But you pointed out, we live in a place, in a time where financial success is seen as success. And that's only one tiny dimension into success. Last thing I'll say, one of my mentors, he shared with me when I was a teen, he said, Anthony, prepare to live long, expect to die early. And what he means by that is I need to set up my life and plans as if I'm going to live for a long time. So I can't live wild and crazy in my 20s because I'm expecting or planning rather to live for a long time. But the expect to die early means I need to have the urgency to be on it now. Don't wait till you 45 years old to say, okay, now I'm going to settle down. In your early 20s, hey, let's start getting things together. Let's settle. You don't have to date 150 people to figure out the one. Find you somebody who loves God and loves you. All right, let's get started now. We don't have to wait so long. And those kinds of things and that kind of advice has helped my life, tremendously. I'm not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination. I don't have all the things that everybody else desires. But my aim is to live according to the purpose that God has for my life.
I'm a fan of LaVar Ball. I think he was annoying with his kind of upfront attitude and sort of in-your-face attitude on the television. But the father has a few roles. Number one is to be there, just being present, right? Being in your kid's life, being married to the wife, to the mother. The second is to protect the kids, and third is to provide. And so I think what he's done is he's given his kid the ultimate opportunity in this culture we live in to pursue what they want to pursue, which is very rare. Oftentimes we just go off to school and we kind of listen to guidance counselors who don't have our best interests in mind necessarily. Maybe they want us to do something good. But we have to go out in this confusing world and we have to figure out what we want to do and how we're going to earn money, how we're going to provide for our family. And I think even a father's role is for life, but your influence kind of fades after the kids turn 14, 15, 16 years old. So I think he was doing a good job being out there and paving the path for them, being upfront, taking the hits where the kids didn't have to as they were maturing into adulthood. I also think it's great that he started this sneaker brand. Like, why not? We're in America. Try everything. Give it a shot. I've had several companies, several have failed. Right? I've had a couple success stories. So we got to keep trying and keep doing things and put yourself in a position to be wildly successful. Now, is the shoe brand still around anymore?
Yeah, to some degree. Maybe not the shoe, but the brand is. I know T-shirts and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think the shoes didn't work out, and some people say contributed to Lonzo's injuries or whatever. But,
Right.
But yeah, he tried, and
He positioned, I think, the first son, the oldest son, signed
Lonzo.
a contract with Nike, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so anyway,
Eventually.
Eventually he did.
Yeah.
So anyway, I admire the guy. I think he's done a good job inspiring his kids, encouraging his kids, and leading them. I don't know the guy personally, so I'm of course judging from afar. But I think being there for your family, protecting your family and providing for your family, that's what a father's supposed to do. So I think from that perspective, from my opinion, I think he's doing a good job, or has done a good job.
Virgil?
Yeah, I think, you as far as fathers go, to the point that was being made, we have a responsibility to be there, to be active in the lives of our children. You don't get Dad of the Year award for that. That's a part of signing up to be a dad. Once you've made a decision to have a child, you have a responsibility, and that's just a part of it. So you don't get Dad of the Year or Dad of the Decade for being there. I recognize that in Black communities, very few dads are, but they're the ones who get the Fs for failing, right? I'm simply saying that those who are a part of their kids' lives, that should be standard. What LaVar represents is kind of the Joe Jacksons of the world, right? In the area of basketball. He represents, Earl Woods, Tiger Woods' dad, the folks who are pushing them in a particular direction as it pertains to sports and athletics. And in my estimation, he's done that to an extreme. It's great to be materialistic. And again, he represents and reflects fathers who've looked at the American dream, figured out, hey, they can make it this way, and I'm going to try to give them a legal path by which to do that. Of course, LiAngelo kind of did some little bit of craziness, stuff that he didn't have to do as it relates to kind of the theft that he got involved into at a store when he was young over there in China. Again, I think he's trying to come out of the shadow of Dad in some of those actions and what he's engaged in. No situation, no family situation is perfect. You could teach your kid all the things that you want to teach them that's right and good, and they still make poor decisions. So I'm not blaming that action on the father. At the same time, we've got to recognize what's right, true, and good, and make sure as men, we're instilling that to our kids. I'll just be personal here for a moment. I've got adult children who are making all kinds of decisions. At the end of the day, could I show them how to make good money? Sure. Could I show them how to earn a big living and get cars and wealth and all of that with regard to the crazy culture that we live in? Absolutely. But what's most important to me, more important than anything else that I teach them, is that I teach them how to live this life in view of eternity. How to live this life in a way that honors God now, because in this life, as they honor God, they're going to be blessed. They're going to experience the benefit that all that God has in store for them in this life, and they'll experience Him in the next. The idea there is, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and yet lose his soul? I pray for my children daily. I want them to walk in godly ways, and I would hope that at some point LaVar sees that is what's of most importance.
And LaVar perhaps does, because LaVar's not out here putting out the tweets that, hey, I'm the GOAT father. It's other people are. So I don't want to put those words in his mouth that he's beating his chest, although he probably is. But that's all speculation. I was sitting here thinking, and I'll ask you three dads, for me, when I think about my father and his greatest impact on me, it's the tiny pieces of wisdom that he shared with me that turned into mammoth pieces of wisdom as I started to live my life. I think I talked about it last week, things that my dad said to me when I was young, that, just having the conversation, and again, just keeping it real about the woman, Debbie, that worked for him, and him saying, no, man, once you start sleeping with them, you work for them. They don't work for you. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably 19, 20, 21 years old. Never forgotten it. And it's actually served me. And it actually implemented that wisdom. And so that, again, I don't want to turn a molehill into a mountain. I'm not saying this to criticize LaVar in any way, but when people start evaluating as a father, it's like, have you imparted wisdom that will protect your child, serve your child for the rest of their life? I think that is like a prime, and obviously, Virgil just made, I'm gonna give him some advice, going to protect them through eternity. But that's the best thing a father can do in my.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the whole thing about the financial dynamic. And I don't discredit, take it away from him that, man, he has provided an opportunity for them. Great. But in the world that we live in, if you look at Hollywood, mass media and all these things, a lot of people are trying to, and I think you would probably say it even in your case, are trying to escape that because you have all of that, but you've lost in some ways, man, I really need that connection with Christ. And that's where what Virgil and I are saying in that, you can still have some of those opportunities, but man, you want to solidify them in Christ, because what can happen is this little thing called life. What happens when a tragic injury takes place and your career is over and your marketability is done and you have none of that left? What happens when, after these 15 years of playing career, for the rest of your life, what do? There are a lot of athletes that once they retire, they start losing things mentally because, man, I now am no longer a performer on a major stage. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with the reality of marriage and children and raising your own children into what they will be? It's not all about the clicks. It's not all about the views. It's definitely not all about the money. It is ultimately going to be about, man, life and godliness. That's what's going to sustain. So, yeah, good credit to him for teaching his sons how to make money and how to work hard. A lot of us have gotten those lessons, but my goodness, my prayer for them is to find a good relationship. I've got a relative in the NBA now, and every time we run across him, we are in prayer. If I'm in town where he is, and he'll call me, hey, come, pray with me, let's study, let's talk. He'll call me periodically, and that's, to me, the joy. You still have the opportunity to play on a great stage, but man, we want to keep you connected with God.
Part of being there, too, is the leadership that the father has. For me growing up, every Sunday we were in Mass. Every Sunday, there was no question. My father also coached us in basketball and soccer, set us up for the best possible outcome. My father was, a 9-to-5 government worker, so he was off to work every day, commuting, coming home, providing. So I think these are the little things that help us understand what it means to be a man, to be the proper kind of man, the proper kind of father, and the proper kind of husband. There's a saying that goes, the best way to raise your kids is to love their mother. That's the best fathers, to love their mother, because the kids learn so much that way. So, without being inside the Ball home and not knowing all these things, teaching them the work ethic. I mean, we're talking about a meritocracy playing in the NBA. I mean, that might be the hardest league to get into. And they got what? Are all three kids playing in the NBA, or have two of them? Yeah. Or they all played at a high level. Well, how do you do that? That's just not work ethic. It's also purposely putting them in a situation so they could be around others. So they played for that private high school out there that's very competitive, put them in that situation. So, I really admire his vision as a father and, how am I going to raise my kids? And then at some point, the kids have their own choice, of course. But I think that's part of it, too, is building that character. You have this relationship with your father, and that you have the memories, and now it helped you build your character. Me, too. I got a message the other day on Facebook from a guy who goes, he took a picture of an old soccer field. He goes, I remember your dad used to coach us here at this soccer field. And I was like, wow, this guy, this is 40-some years ago. And I'm like, how beautiful is that my father made this kind of impact? My father also taught CCD, which is the Catholic Sunday school. And so, seeing my father volunteer in the community, do these types of things, that helps build a character of a man. So I grew up with certain expectations. So, I think that's what LaVar did to his kid as well. It's like, hey, we're going to play big. We're going to shoot for the stars. And, whatever comes of that is what comes of it. But I think, Father of the Year, who knows? But I think he's done a really good job.
Virgil, I'm going to say something, then I'm going to switch topics. But if you had something important you wanted to say, I'll let you shoot it now before I wrap up and we move to a different topic.
No, go for it.
So last thing I'll say on all this is that I'm sitting here as we're having this conversation thinking about what are the most important things parents can provide their kids. And this is my fear. And I hear everything Kevin is saying, but I see so many people that are caught up in all of this worldly stuff that social media and the Matrix promotes, that too many people are raising their kids in a way, in a belief that unless you enter into some super lucrative profession, you can't be happy. And what I remember about my childhood is even when it was my parents divorced when I was 4 or 5 years old, and it was me, my brother, and my mother on Grand Avenue, I believe, Grand Avenue, Grand Boulevard, certainly in the hood, really small, 600 square foot apartment. But my mother created an environment for me and my brother that was so fun, so free of fear. Even though we were in the hood, it was fun, free of fear, that as a young child, I never knew I was poor, never thought I was poor, never thought that not having a bunch of things, I couldn't be happy. Mm-hmm. And so then when we got broken into, and she moved us out to a working class suburb, neighborhood, whatever, apartment, and me and my brother both had our own individual bedrooms. Never knew we were poor, never feared anything. And I was like, oh man, we live in I think a 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom apartment, and I'm happy. This is great. When I moved in with my father, my senior year of high school, and we really on our rear end, and we in the hood for real, and we in an apartment that's first floor on the ground, it'd be easy for somebody to come up in here. But because my father was there, and because by this time I was as strong as an ox, and I never spent one moment in fear in there, and never thought. I was happy. My friends, to some degree, it was embarrassing living there, but my friends were all good with it, and no one really cared, and blah, blah, blah. And so I say all that to say, when I was in college and thinking about graduating college, there was never a moment in my head where I was like, man, I'm gonna be rich one day. And I came to Ball State and I'm gonna get this job where I'm gonna be super rich and blah, blah, blah. I literally was sitting there in 1989 going, man, one day I'm gonna make $70,000 a year and I'm gonna be 40 years old and I'm gonna be content.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be, and so that mindset allowed me to enter into a profession where I never thought I was just going to be rich. I thought I was going to find contentment and joy. That mentality, I think, is being stripped from too many kids. We think that we got to have the biggest and brightest and everything in order to be happy. And I was allowed to grow up thinking like, no, if I had enough, I can be happy and find joy. And I think about that all the time about, and yes, I have a lot, but I don't need a lot to be happy.
Amen.
And too many people have lost that, and that's I guess my fear as it relates to people's messaging taking from LaVar and his 3 kids. It's like the ultimate success is being super wealthy. Nah, I'm looking at my brother, and it's not that, and he's done well. He's an executive at Ford. He ain't poor. They got a really nice house. He got a wife, 20 plus years of marriage, 2 sons, his joy and all that. The family he's been married into, the Flukers, incredible brother-in-law, sister-in-law, extra family in Ohio. There's so much joy and contentment that I think so many people have lost, thinking that I got to be living in Beverly Hills and I got to be living in a mansion and I got to have 3 cars and I got to have gold chains and I got to blah, 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 blah. if we can get young people to find out that none of that's really happiness, and you can actually be working class and more fulfilled, more filled with joy, living a better life than all these people you see on TV that's tatted up and they got gold all in their mouth and they think they're happy. And them people are going through a hell that you couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
You just couldn't even imagine. And I've met them and know them. And like, them ain't happy folks. Them ain't people with a real purpose. Them are people just I'll say this and I'm going to move on. I'm not raining on Jello. But this whole rap thing, and he's got some song Tweaker that's profane and blah, blah, blah. He's about to, they gave him $8 million, and now he's going to sit in rooms with executives that are going to tell, no, you're going to rap this, you're going to do this is what the beat's going to sound like, and you're going to show up on this time, this date, the blah, blah, blah. He's put puppet strings on himself that will require him to make music that won't be uplifting or edifying or educational or anything, but in order to keep getting this money, you're going to keep cursing and promoting bad values and behavior, and we're going to give you a check for it, but you're going to have to, and eventually you'll have kids, and you'll be like these other rappers, I ain't letting them listen to this rap music, blah, blah. You'll know exactly what you did. Let me move on, and because I want to make this point, or I did make this point earlier. I want to play some clips of college athletes that are just making it a point to talk about their personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and it's everywhere. It's a story that I think should be getting covered by major media outlets, but the major sports media outlets and media outlets, they don't know how to cover Christian stuff. And so they're going to ignore it. But it's like this Ohio State, Notre Dame football teams. This should be being talked about. The Ohio State team over the summer was holding revivals and baptizing each other and baptizing people on campus. They've had this incredible journey, religious journey at Ohio State. They go through the struggle of getting beat by Michigan. They lost early in the year, I think, to Oregon. Never blinked an eye. They got something spiritual going on with that team. Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman got the same thing going on. If you listen to him, you listen to his players talk, they done brought mass back to Notre Dame's athletics. Marcus Freeman did it. And when you listen to him and his players talk, first they just start talking about Jesus Christ, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at this college football national championship game, and I look at Boise State and their journey just to the college football playoff and what their coaches were saying, what their players were saying. No one's talking about this religious revival that's going on in sports because no one wants to deal with the fact that name, image, and likeness, political correctness, Black Lives Matters, and they put coaches in a box where it's like, well, dang, if I say this, that'll be politically incorrect and I could get in trouble. And if I do this, if I punish the kids, they'll say I'm being too hard on the kids. And so what these smart people have done is like, well, man, I'm just going to put on the full armor of God and just, Jesus is going to be everything. And I'll let that take over the culture of my team. And this is actually a blessing. This wickedness is forcing people to say, you know what? There's only one solution here. And it's been amazing to watch. Media will never cover it. I want to play you this is, I believe, the Travion Henderson. I think he's the Ohio State running back that took a swing at somebody and then after the game repented on the sideline. Anyway, let's play Travion Henderson, SOT 7.
That 75-yard run, walk us through that. How did that feel to find the end zone?
Yes. Man, it was a battle, man, especially after making this mistake on the field, with the penalty. Just spending some time with the Lord on the sideline, asking for his forgiveness and helping me to repent, to turn away, because that's not the person I want to be. And, his hand is always there, and, man, he picked me up in that moment. And my teammate, man, Gloria, man, he told me just focus on Jesus. And so I'm just thankful, man, for my brothers in Christ to be there to pick me up and help me to focus on the Lord and just, man, yeah, God made a way.
But the job's not done, right? You've got one more. What's it going to take to focus on that now?
Man, to just keep seeking Jesus together, to keep trusting him and to keep growing with him. And, and just surrender, his will be done and not ours.
That's the Ohio State run. Here's Ohio State's quarterback, Will Howard. Short clip. Let's play shot number 8.
First and foremost, I got to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, for giving me this opportunity to be on this stage and here in the Rose Bowl. I mean, a younger me would be in awe right now, and I just got to take it all in and enjoy this with my boys, and we got 2 more, so we're not done yet.
Here's Riley Leonard, quarterback at Notre Dame. I think this is after they beat Georgia. Play shot number 11.
Riley, you just heard the fans here for Notre Dame erupting in these stands. What can you say about what this win means to you?
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Without him, I wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't be here as a whole group. But just to see these fans, it's incredible. Like I always say, this is why I came to Notre Dame. We got a lot of work left to do. It was an ugly one, but we got it done. Once again, shout out to the defense. They played outstanding, and that's a really good team we played. So, man, I'm just so grateful for this opportunity. This is a beautiful thing and a dream come true.
I want to play shot number 12. This is Boise State, I think, defensive lineman Ahmad Hassan. Can't say his last name, but he's talking about thanking his coach for introducing him to Jesus Christ. Play shot number 12.
First, I want to start off and say, oh, glory to Jesus Christ. He's the true champion. Coach D, you changed my life. You changed my life. I did not know God until I got to Boise State. And I serve a true champion. Jesus Christ is the only true God. He died, rose from the dead 3 days later. That's the champion that I serve. And thank you, Coach D. Seriously, you changed my life.
I could play clip after clip after clip. Anybody that's been watching college football, and it's showing up in the NFL too, it's like there's so much momentum anti-Jesus that the most rebellious thing you can do as a young person is submit and let everybody know you submitted to Jesus. It's a beautiful thing to watch and see. Who knows if these kids got it all figured out? They're just kids. But I do think that, man, there is, as upset and as much as I complain about, man, I can't believe how secular the world is. Well, maybe it has to get this secular for the scales to come off people's eyes and say, well, there's only one thing I can do that's safe and effective, and that's call on the name of Jesus. Virgil, your thoughts on all of this?
No, this is a great segment. I got excited just re-listening to some of those statements that were being made by the players. The thing that I think impresses me the most about it is not only their openness, but the level of depth that they are explaining. The one player from Ohio State, I remember watching the penalty that cost his team. I thought that could be the very thing that loses them the game. And to see him not give a play-by-play of what he did that was so great, but admit that he missed it, and that in the missing it, he got close to God, refocused, went back out, and did what he did for his team. That was incredibly inspiring. The other aspects, the Boise State young man, even the guy, and I know we didn't play the clip, the young man, I tried to find his name. It's Jaden Barron, the Texas player, who after a loss, and all that takes your, that takes the breath out of you. And you mentioned at the top, I'm a Sooner fan, so I'm definitely no advocate for Texas at all. But this player in particular, I'm a big fan. What he did at the end of that game, and even as that conversation was about to close out, he held his finger up and said, "Hey, just 1 minute," and insisted that God get the glory. Man, that is powerful. It's in contrast to what you talked about earlier with the ball young man. He's trying to be Drake and trying to LiAngelo Jello. He's trying to be Drake. I listened to that Tweaker song and I thought I need to announce even here on the platform here that I'm going to be a reformed rapper, because that album was horrible. I mean, that song was terrible, but it's in contrast to what these young men are doing as they proclaim the name of Christ. It is absolutely amazing to witness, and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
Anthony, before you go, let's play shot number 10, the Jaden Barron that Virgil just referenced. Play shot 10.
I mean, yesterday in Bible study with Kevin Washington, there was a few guys that went up there. Kevin asked us to tell a reason and a reason why you deeply and strongly got closer with God and why you trust God. And Cedric went up there and he told us his story. And Jake Majors went up there, and I also went up there. And I told all the guys, like, last year and the years before previously, I wanted things done on my time. But it doesn't work like that. God has everything planned. It's already written. And all you have to do is just keep going with the process and just trusting the process, and then allowing everybody to be a plus in your life and trusting everybody. So just literally relying on God. And then Psalms 105 verse 1, just give thanks to the Lord and proclaim his greatness and show the whole world what he has done. I mean, I'm showing y'all with my talent, but I mean, I'd be surprised too when God just pushes me and go out there to allow me to make plays like that. So,
Anthony,
I like it. I like it. I like the fact that they're bold enough to mention God, to mention Jesus. I'm a Tim Tebow fan, Florida Gators fan, so I remember when he was, looked down upon for bringing up Christ, and 316 on his face, and like everybody, the media and everybody, we didn't want to hear it, we didn't want to see it, and now it is everywhere. The only caveat that I would say is, with what we do and how we live according to our faith, it is bigger than our occupation, our assignments. It's bigger than all that. It is our life. And so, yes, we can catch the momentum when things are going well. We win. The play works out the way we favored it to work out. So we say, oh, man, God, thank you. But God is still God, even if it doesn't work out that way. God is still God if we lose the game, as we see. There's still the lesson to be learned. So I want them to continue in their pursuit of godliness for their life, not just in these prime moments, but in these prime moments, absolutely give him the glory.
Kevin, I'm gonna put you in a tough spot, but I'm gonna hop in this spot with you. Mm-hmm. It frustrates me that the media should be covering this.
Sure.
Frustrates me tremendously. And there's I don't think the media is allowed to cover it. It's like the media has to be secular and or support the view that Jesus Christ isn't our Lord and Savior. And when I see Notre Dame and what's going on with the Catholic Church, when I see what's going on with Catholic athletes, when I see what's going on with Catholics and their push for Christ as King, and I see the media, this is such an obvious storyline that there's some sort of religious revival, Christian religious revival, going on in sports, and the media just refusing to acknowledge it and cover it. And it's just another form of fake news. And it makes me, I don't put words in your mouth, but it's like, well, who's in control of the media, and who won't cover this Christian revival that's going on? And again, it's why people float into conspiracy theorists, and then you run the risk of, is Jason Whitlock anti-Semitic? And no, I'm not. But there's something going on with Jesus Christ and athletes, and I'm like, why won't the media cover it? And is the media controlled by people that don't like Jesus Christ?
Yeah, well, I think we're seeing the pendulum swing, right? So it goes back and forth. This is throughout history. And we're seeing what you called a revival. And where is this revival coming from? It's coming from strong, masculine leadership. The one guy gave credit to his coach, thank you for introducing me to Jesus Christ, right? If you go back, I remember watching Back to the Future back in 86, 87, 88, whenever that came out. And Jesus Christ is mentioned probably 100+ times in that movie, but as a curse word. You'll hear Michael J. Fox go, Jesus Christ, Jesus. And I think, Jesus Christ, Doc. And I'm like, wow, why is this way? But I think what's happened So that's old media, right? And so what's happened is media hasn't been able to catch up to new media. So we have social media where anyone can get on a video on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, and express their views. And what we're starting to see now, a lot of people are taking a stand for Christ. Like you said, this is the revolutionary stand now. I'm going to be against culture, so I'm going to talk about Jesus Christ. Despite what CBS, ABC, Fox, whatever these stations are doing, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be a stand for Christ. So I think we're seeing that pendulum swing. What I've always said is the restorative and transformational power of Jesus Christ cannot be learned, it cannot be explained, it can only be discovered and experienced by an individual. So that's what I love about this masculine, this male leadership that's leading these people to Christ and giving them the opportunity. And part of it is putting on the armor of God and taking a stand when other people won't. And then what happens is it creates courage amongst other Christians. And I think this next generation is the generation that's going to swing that pendulum the other way.
Jason, back in your generation and Virgil's generation, the news was like, this is where we get what's going on.
Exactly.
Right. This is what we get. If Walter Cronkite said it, it was so, okay? Right. And as to Kevin's point, as we've gone forward, if the news says and media says, oh, this is racist, guess what the message that's coming? Oh, it must be racist because I saw it on the news and they said it was racist. They said this person is a bigot. They said this person, so keep that in mind. Now, if they were to broadcast and say, oh, these athletes are talking about Jesus Christ, then they are declaring he must be real. He must be the power source. He must be. And for the news now to make that declaration, those powers that be are saying, no, we can't say that because that's an admission. That's an admission to now say. And what God does, to give us an even more biblical dynamic, God encourages us as we live in society, we live and work and serve unto Him. But because we do it in that manner, we will stand out. You will be a great employee because you're working not unto your boss, but unto God. So if you're doing well and are very proficient, you will be elevated to the place that now a microphone is going to be put in your face. Hey, coach, what do you have to say? And they are saying now, Jesus, and it's putting these networks on. Well, man, I want to talk to him because they just won a playoff game. But I know if we leave the mic on too long, he's going to say something that. So that's why, Jason, my opinion, that's why they're not covering it in mass, because that would be the admission from the large media state that Jesus Christ is King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
Virgil, I'll give you the final thought. I'm going to tuck this little comment in. I want to tell the audience, I want people watching our show, let's follow this Ohio State Notre Dame game, national championship. I will be shocked. It'll be criminally negligent if ESPN, that's owned by Disney and run by Bob Iger, if they don't cover this religious aspect of what has led Notre Dame and Ohio State to where they are, that this religious revival that's going on at both schools isn't part of the story. They're telling on themselves. And this is what I can't stand about ESPN, and this is what I feel bad for Dan Orlovsky. I feel bad for Ryan Clark, who claims a religious faith, and these guys, and they're all sitting over there. We've had David Pollack on this show saying, hey, I had to bite my tongue when I was there. I'm hoping that these guys are encouraged by these kids, and it's like, even if you can't do it, and this is why Ryan Clark, still mad at me, hates my guts. I get it, I understand it, but he tweeted out something last week or 2 weeks ago where he talked about his faith and that, hey, am I as good a Christian as I was 10 years ago? And I found it interesting and inspirational that he was that self-aware and reflective. And I know the guy doesn't like me, but when I hear things like that, my ears perk up and I'm like, man, I got to reevaluate Ryan Clark and pray for Ryan Clark and hope that even if he can't do it on ESPN, at least he's talking about it on the Pivot and other places. But I want to see if ESPN's able to ignore what's going on with these two football teams come Monday night, because it's obvious to me and everybody else what's going on. Virgil, final thoughts on any of all this?
Yeah. I think to the point you made, the writing is on the wall. It has been for quite some time as it relates to these massive news organizations. The more and more you play what these players are saying, the more and more self-reflective you become. Man, if he's saying that in that instance, what does my life need to do? And that's not anything that ESPN or some of these large major news networks are interested in at all. And so that's why they avoid it. But the good news on the other side of that is that's why shows like this, X has grown exponentially as it has, because there are other third-party folks who are picking up these stories and benefiting. My friend John Root, that's a kind of a part of what he does. He posts this stuff and amplifies it and is doing his thing. And I love watching his feed. Most of us are now getting our phones, opening up X in order to figure out what's actually going on, because there are a wide variety of sources that we feel like we can at least gather the truth. Not that we're adopting what someone else is saying, but at least it provides us a direct line to the story that we need to see and hear and learn and understand. And so I'm encouraged, whether they acknowledge it or not. The word is getting out. The messages are getting out. People are being benefited and blessed by it. I know it's causing me to do some self-reflection. Man, if that guy, young man, after a loss, can reflect on the goodness of God, maybe in my situation when I'm dealing with something or struggling, I can reflect on the goodness of God as a result and be encouraged by what they're doing on the playing field. And so it's with that, man, I'm encouraged. Whether ESPN or any of those, four letter organizations get their act together or not, we're going to be just fine watching God show out in other ways.
Thank you, gentlemen. Great job. Anthony's got somewhere he needs to go, so I'm going to let you guys go. And I got to talk to Shemeka Michelle. We're going to talk about what was going on in Congress yesterday. Nancy Mace and Jasmine Crockett are having a cat fight. We'll let Shemeka just settle it. Next. Welcome to Extra Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Oh my God, Lyndon Johnson, his thoughts are so disgusting. I can't believe you would engage with him. The celebration for being a slut have never been greater. Why do you choose Taylor Swift, and why do you pick up a role as, let me help my woman undress on stage in front of an audience?
When I look at people like Sexy Red or Cardi B that we prop up, now I see that the white community as well is just as fried.
It does look to me like he made some eye contact with her and then just decided, nah, let me move on. The BET Awards seems like a psyop at this point. It's just Democratic brainwashing. Get in there and fight for all the things. Steve, that's it for you. I'm done. All right, welcome back. Time for some Shemeka show. And I don't know if I'm going to save it for after we talk about Jasmine Crockett and Nancy Mace, because, I don't want to dirty up the conversation I just had with Anthony and Virgil and all that. And Shemeka, welcome back to the show. Did you see Nancy Mace? Oh, you support our man Maj Toure today? Black Guns Matter, is that what that T-shirt is?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Maj think I don't like him. Maj likes to, he likes to stir up unnecessary debate. I like Maj, but, I just tread a little careful. I like Maj. I like Black Guns Matter, and good for you. Good for him. I just lost my... Nancy Mace and Jasmine Crockett, there was some kind of thing going on in the House, some sort of oversight committee where they got to talking about trans athletes and men participating in sports with girls, and Jasmine Crockett, as a black politician and whoever is paying for her political career, has told her that she has to pretend that being black and being transvestite is the same thing, and that black people and transvestites are natural allies. And so she attacked Nancy Mace, who's white, because I guess she said something about trans people and not wanting men playing in sports with women. Anyway, they went back and forth, and I think at one point Nancy Mace said, "Hey, let's take it outside, baby girl." It was crazy. Let's play the clip.
We have the right to know that we're not going to have trans people filming us in the bathroom. How many of these trannies are taking selfies? These men are taking selfies in women's spaces, in the bathroom. It's gross. It's disgusting. So if we're going to talk about civil rights, let's talk about the rights of women in this country and how you are stripping them away every single day. And you're doing it in your legislation, you're doing it in your messaging, you're doing it on X. You're making women feel unsafe in this country. And you're making the opportunity for women and girls to be raped, to be sexually abused in this country even greater than they've ever been. So don't come over here with your attitude and talk to me about rights when you're trying to take my rights as a woman, a rape survivor, away. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Any member seek recognition? Ms. Stansbury.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the gentlelady across the aisle demonstrating why we need civil rights. We need civil rights to protect all people, especially trans Americans who are under attack right now. I would like to yield the rest of my time to the gentlelady who is carrying the amendment.
I don't even know how we got there, because I tried to make it clear how many civil rights, it doesn't just boil down to one conversation, but I can see that somebody's campaign coffers really are struggling right now. So she gonna keep saying trans, 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 so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen, I want y'all to tell me whether or
Do not call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I am 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more glass
have.
ceilings than you
Chairman,
ever
I
will.
am reclaiming my
Let's go.
time.
You will not do that. I
Order.
am not a child.
I am reclaiming my time.
If you want to take it outside,
Mr. Chairman, the committee is not in order.
Your thoughts, Shemeka. This is your area of expertise, women fighting in Congress.
They should both be sentenced to the kitchen. Let's put them on sandwich duty, because this is embarrassing to see them go back and forth. We already know that Jasmine Crockett is insufferable. Like, we could actually do a show called 304 Goes to Congress, but Nancy Mace can sometimes be just as bad. It's like they are such drama queens, and I can't stand it. And this whole foolishness about adding the transgenders to the Civil Rights Act, I don't think that's fair. They've been kind of trying to put that in front of us, calling it the Equality Act, so that we buy into it. But I don't think they belong there. And Jasmine acting as if trans is the new black is ridiculous. But I can't stand to see a black woman flip fake hair. That's one of my pet peeves. And she's just in there really being embarrassing. Like, I can't stand it. I agree more with Nancy Mace's stance, but I tell you, we should call her Nancy Karen Mace, because it's just funny to me that they then took this to Twitter and they were going back and forth on Twitter. And Jasmine said, she actually told me, she wanted to let's go outside when I've represented real killers, as if representing real killers mean that you can't get your ass whooped. It's just so silly to me, and it's embarrassing that, I, as a woman, this is why I would give up my right to vote to take all other women's rights to vote.
I was trying to do this via text, but Justin, could y'all hunt down the clip of the woman in that other country that broke out into the chant, either Samoan woman or whatever? Let me know, text me when y'all have that clip ready, because I want to play it, because this is like if that's ever going to happen in America, it'll be either Nancy Mace or Jasmine Crockett that does it. I guess AOC would be a candidate as well. Mm-hmm. But we didn't, I didn't have them get the clip that I retweeted yesterday or put out over X yesterday, where Jasmine Crockett just directly said that, like y'all trying to do trans folk and trying to dismiss them the way y'all try to dismiss black folks and make us disappear. And I'm like, oh. And I'm like, as black people, are we really going for this? I mean, seriously, just beyond the stupidity or what, we really are comfortable with politicians analogizing us to transvestites? That somehow, how is this not offensive? How is this not like, hey man, we done lost the plot here. If we're transvestites. Now we done went from being gay and gay is the new black to now trans is the new black. When and where? Because trust me, the next one, trust me, pedophile is the new black. It is just around the corner. They can't wait. And we're going to keep riding with it because we got these racial idolatry scales. And, oh, Jasmine Guy, she says ain't. She said, ain't, I ain't, she pretends to be ghetto and she puts on her fake eyelashes and fake hair. And that's our sister girl. And so we'll be pedophiles, we'll be gay, we'll be transgender as long as we think we're harming white people or white women. And I wasn't expecting to go here, but I just got to go here, man. Shemeka, is there some sort of white girl derangement syndrome that most black women have? That they allegedly can't stand white women, but they'll put white woman's hair on or try to dress up and look like a white woman. They'll put on eyelashes to try to look like a Barbie doll. But really there's just this deep-seated jealousy and or hatred that that's what drives them in everything. Logic goes out the window and it's just, I hate white women, and that's that.
I definitely think there's a deep-seated jealousy. When I'm on social media and I read the things that they say about white women, it just doesn't make sense most of the time. Like, black women will say we have black girl magic and white women want to be us. But as you just stated, every time you turn around, they're wearing the hair of white women. They won't wear their own hair. It frustrates me because we see it so much. And then they point the finger and say, oh, black men don't like natural hair, or I can't wear my natural hair in professional circles. And that's just a lie. The bottom line is no one hates black hair more than black women. So as much as they try and say white women want to be them, we only see it the other way around. Like, yeah, sometimes you'll see a white woman wearing braids, or you'll see a white woman really acting, having trashy behavior. But for the most part, black women won't leave the house without doing all of these extra things to their physical appearance, yet say they want a real man. Well, can we get real women, first of all? Can we go back to real women who age naturally and gracefully and who is willing to walk around looking like a real woman? They're so confused, Jason, that most of the time they actually wear their makeup as if they're a man trying to look like a woman. They walk around in drag 24/7. They have no idea what the difference is between daytime makeup and nighttime makeup. I mean, they just walk around in drag all day, every day. And you gotta wonder, what's going on with them that they won't even exercise. Black women think it's okay that 4 out of 5 of us are overweight. White women want to be black women, but white women will work out. Black women walk around looking like they just pushed away from a buffet every single day in spandex and yoga pants, but can't touch their toes. It's crazy because if you really are confident, let's see what you look like. People would get mad at Kevin Samuels when he would say, no makeup, fresh out the shower. What do you rate yourself? And the way Black women walk around daily and you have no idea what they really look like, I think it speaks volumes.
I'm not going to add anything to that comment. I want to play the mash. I'm going to get myself further into trouble if I do comment. But yeah, remember the woman in New Zealand? We did a mashup of her and Jasmine Crockett. I just want to refresh everyone's memory.
It's because you can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country. You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes. You tell me. You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean and told that you are going to go and work. We are going to steal your wives. We are going to rape your wives. That didn't happen. That is oppression. We didn't ask to be here. We're not the same migrants that y'all constantly come up against. We didn't run away from home. We were stolen. So yeah, we are going to sit here and be offended when you want to sit here and act like, and don't let it escape you. That it is white men on this side of the aisle telling us, people of color on this side of the aisle, that y'all are the ones being oppressed, that y'all are the ones that are being harmed.
I play that clip because I'm just, both Jasmine Crockett and that woman in New Zealand, they could put pictures on Match.com or Tinder, and I would be like, oh, kind of attractive. Or because there's times where Jasmine Crockett looks attractive. I don't know the woman in New Zealand, but I've seen pictures where she looks attractive. Once they start opening their mouth, you get that attitude. I'm just telling you, it looks like Aunt Esther on Sanford and Son. I mean, it just quickly, it's the attitude. And that's what I think many women, Black women, haven't figured out. It's the attitude. My grandmother was one of the most beautiful women on the planet, and it was because her attitude was so positive and so just like overwhelming. It made her beauty overwhelming. Everybody loved Mama Lovey. She was so attractive because she just emoted joy and positive energy. And somehow these strong Black women that have been groomed and elevated, or white women, Black women, whatever, yellow women, brown women, that all have been anger and strong, masculine, blah, blah, blah. And it just makes you ugly. And it destroys your inner beauty, which would overwhelm your outer shortcomings. It's an attitude issue, but no one wants to address it. The brand is, to be a Black woman is to be angry and loud and to shout white people down and call them racist and to lean into emotion. It's really, really unattractive. And Nancy Mace is just like, that's, again, I halfway like Nancy Mace, but again, with all these women, I'm like, are you really a closet feminist? Because you run really hot and angry for no reason sometimes. And maybe you just a closeted feminist, or, trying to hide your inner feminist. It's all unattractive. So anyway, I was going to make, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I was going to say, I think the more that you take women out of their natural habitat, we're going to see that those attitudes, the anger, the bitterness. You know, you spoke about your grandmother. I was thinking about mine and my great grandmother. I remember her just being in her natural habitat, making sure that we weren't hungry. You know, we were fed, we were clothed, we were happy. She was a woman doing exactly what women were created to do. And I think that when you take women out of their natural habitat, we're going to get those attitudes. We're going to get the anger because they're doing something or trying to operate in a space that they aren't supposed to be in, period. And so I think the more that they try and present themselves as strong, the more they try to act as if they are equal to men, they have to put on this air of masculinity that just isn't real and it's not natural. And it comes across so angry because they should be mad. They should be mad that they have bought into the foolishness and feeling like they have to be and operate in places that they weren't designed for. So I think the more that we see that, because when I think about my great grandmother, I didn't see the attitude or any type of irrational thought process, because that's what we get when we see these women. We get to see their attitudes and we know how they think because they're trying to constantly be something they're not.
Shemeka, we're out of time. I got to go. We're going to play tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be, I just want, I wanna be, I just want, I wanna be, I just